You ready to go, Delmarie? I can introduce you real quick. So hello and thank you for being with us today. We are here because essentially rewarding Rahm Emanuel with a high-profile ambassadorship is a terrible and disgusting thing to do after Rahm Emanuel is known to have essentially covered up the murder of a teenager in Chicago named Laquan McDonald. And that's what our signs say here today, is Laquan McDonald. That's what this is about. With us today is Delmarie Cobb, a longtime Chicago-based political consultant and activist who has experienced living under Rahm Emanuel, knows all about him, and is going to tell you everything you need to know. Essentially, as Democrats continue to say Black Lives Matter, we want it to be very clear that giving or confirming Rahm Emanuel to this ambassadorship would be saying the exact opposite. So with that, I will turn it over now to Delmarie Cobb, who's gonna give some a few words, and then if you have questions about the Rahm Emanuel, Delmarie will be here to answer. If you have campaigns about the Roots Action campaign that has been going on for 6 months now, then you can talk to me as well. So with that, Delmarie.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Delmarie Cobb, and I'm a political consultant and activist in Chicago. I'm here to lend my name to the many organizations, individuals, and elected officials who are voicing their objection to Rahm Emanuel being appointed ambassador to Japan. This is the second bite at the apple for Emanuel and his supporters to have President Joe Biden appoint him to a high-profile position within his administration. This is an example of how determined the elite and powerful is to rehabilitate the reputation of one of Chicago's worst mayors in my lifetime. And believe me, that's a remarkable achievement. Given the mayor he replaced presided over tens of thousands of African Americans leaving Chicago, 2 decades of disinvestment in Black and brown communities, and John Burge, a Chicago police detective who for decades tortured Black men into confessing to crimes they didn't commit. Eventually, the truth came out. Burge was sent to jail, and dozens of his victims were released. Since 2004, Chicago taxpayers have paid more than $1 billion in settlements and legal fees for police misconduct and wrongful deaths. This is the backdrop that existed when Rahm Emanuel became mayor. He had an opportunity to address police brutality against Black and brown Chicagoans. Instead, he continued the same broken policies throughout his tenure until 2015, when dash cam video of Laquan McDonald being shot 16 times by police officer Jason Van Dyke 6 seconds after arriving on the scene was made public. 5 days after Rahm Emanuel won re-election in a runoff against Jesus Chuy Garcia, his corporation counsel went to the City Council Finance Committee and asked them to approve a $5 million payout to McDonald's mother before she initiated any legal action. The city's lawyer advised aldermen that if it went to a trial, the settlement could be much larger. That was April 2015. McDonald was killed in 2014. Right before Thanksgiving 2015, a judge ordered the city to release the dashcam video. The cover-up of Laquan McDonald's murder was the final straw for most Black Chicagoans. During Rahm Emanuel's tenure, his first term, he ordered 50 schools closed in mostly Black and brown communities as part of a cost-saving measure. It's the largest school closure in the history of the United States. While he closed neighborhood public schools, his friends opened chartered schools, funded with public money. Rahm Emanuel also closed 6 of 12 mental health clinics in predominantly Black and brown communities. I ask you, who needs mental health care more than Black and brown people who are underserved, underemployed, and under siege due to violence? Rahm Emanuel's actions as Chicago's mayor were the biggest acts of betrayal of the very people who elected him. Black Chicagoans elected him not because they knew him, but because he served President Barack Obama's administration. Surely someone who served in 2 presidential administrations and served as a congressman would have the know-how to bring back resources to the communities most in need. That was the deliberation most black voters made in electing him. The second time, in 2015, black people knew who Rahm Emanuel was, but President Obama took to the airwaves and implored his supporters to give him a second chance. President Obama called him hard-headed and said he had learned his lesson. 5 days after the election, however, aldermen are being advised to vote for a $1 million payout. Yet we're asked to believe the mayor, who prides himself on being the smartest person in the room, didn't know 17-year-old Laquan McDonald was murdered by an on-duty Chicago police officer. Recently, a Chicago political reporter said there was insignificant opposition to Rahm Emanuel's nomination. In other words, it's a done deal. If Rahm Emanuel can garner the majority of Democratic votes for his appointment in today's political climate, given the social unrest following the police murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, and the supposed awareness of America's ongoing racism and racial inequities, then the message to black people is, we are insignificant. Black lives don't matter. After centuries of showing us nothing is ever going to change for black people, the appointment of Rahm Emanuel to Ambassador of Japan is further proof. Unlike Laquan McDonald, Rekia Boyd, Quintonio Laguerre, and Betty Jones, who are just some of the people killed by police in Chicago during Rahm Emanuel's administration, he gets to fail up. They won't get a redo. Their families can't pretend their deaths never happened. They won't get to make millions, write books, start over, be rewarded with an ambassadorship, and use that as a stepping stone to the U.S. Senate or Illinois governor. You and I may be insignificant, but we aren't going quietly. Mr. Biden, you need the black vote and you need the progressive vote. You have a choice. You can listen to your powerful friends telling you to choose Rahm Emanuel, or you can listen to us, the people. It's Rahm Emanuel or us, but it can't be both. Thank you.
And we can take questions from anybody. If you'd like to ask about Rahm Emanuel specifically, Delmarie Cobb is here to answer questions. If you'd like to ask about the Roots Action campaign itself, I can answer those. So do we have any questions?
Did you relay your message to President Biden, or did you try to?
Have we tried to relay the message to President Biden? Yes, we've sent tens of thousands of emails already. Let me step up here. We've sent tens of thousands of emails already to senators across the country, because that's now who it's up to. Early on in our campaign, 6 months ago, we were sending emails to the White House saying, don't nominate Rahm Emanuel to be Secretary of Transportation, because that was initially what was thought. And then it turned into, well, maybe he'll be ambassador to Japan or China, which didn't make a lot of sense to us. So this is really just a political favor. We're past the point where Biden can do anything. Hopefully he pulls the nomination. That would be great, but we're really counting on senators to stand up and reject him.
So you're hoping that Mr. Manuel is not going to leave any office at all?
100%. We don't think Rahm Emanuel deserves any position in this White House at all, period.
Okay. Not in Chicago, not anywhere.
Not anywhere, no. We will fight Rahm Emanuel no matter where he's considering getting a job, probably. So.
What are your thoughts about being shut out of the Capitol?
Hey, it happens. There's nothing we can control about that. We moved up here and it worked out great.
That's not a very good welcome, right?
Yeah, maybe not a great welcome, but
a clear indication of how you're being received.
That's okay. They have their own. There's someone visiting right now, so it's okay.
The second question is, of course, it's an important issue, but isn't it awfully local in the sense that talking about someone being appointed
Yeah.
as an ambassador, right?
So yeah, the question.
There's tons of things that you can get on people, which of course are important. But explain to us how this local issue affects someone being an ambassador to a foreign country. They seem to be. It seems a bit petty.
Yeah, absolutely. Delmarie, go ahead.
Well, it's really not a local issue when you think about the fact that it was African Americans who elected Joe Biden. If it weren't for African Americans, Joe Biden would not be the president of the United States right now. And so when you're talking about Black Lives Matter, when you're talking about showing African Americans respect, this is a very big issue. And it's not a local issue, it's a national issue. Laquan McDonald was a national issue, George Floyd was a national issue, and it continues to be a national issue. We've got people dying for insignificant reasons all across the country every day who are African American, for not using a turn signal, for looking at a construction site, for selling loose squares, all kinds of reasons they're losing their lives for reasons that shouldn't escalate to death. And so we're saying to President Biden, Rahm Emanuel is the face of police brutality. Rahm Emanuel is the face of police cover-up. And so he should not be rewarded. He should be disqualified from ever holding public office again. There's a reason he didn't run for re-election. And it wasn't because he wanted to. He didn't run for re-election because he knew he wouldn't be re-elected after Laquan McDonald. And so this is, if you reward him with an ambassadorship, you, when in effect, will be rehabilitating his reputation so that he can then put Laquan McDonald behind him, he can put his failed mayoralship behind him, and he can run for something else later on.
Any other questions?
Do you think sending such a person to Japan will kind of damage the reputation of Japan itself?
Well, Rahm is certainly not a kind and gentle person. He is a vulgar person. He is an aggressive person. He takes pride in the fact that he has the kind of reputation he has, that he takes no prisoners. And that is not the kind of person you would give the title of diplomat to. And so I don't think that that's someone who should go anywhere and represent America, anywhere. He shouldn't represent anyone locally, and he certainly shouldn't represent America nationally or worldwide.
So now it's up to the Senate. And, what are the actions that you're taking to the Senate or the senators?
Yeah, so we are here now. We plan on doing something similar to this in Chicago as well to rally support. And we are in a continuous social media, digital, email, phone call effort to senators, urging them. There are some senators who have received 10,000 emails themselves about this from constituents, and we will continue that effort until the confirmation hearing itself. Any other questions here?
What is the response of the senators so far? Are you getting a positive response to your actions?
We have had a couple responses. Senator Merkley, he had put out a stock response to constituents that said he recognizes the problems about Laquan McDonald with Rahm Emanuel, and he had heard from constituents a lot about that. So he's one person. We've also had some one-on-one meetings we've set up with senators. I don't want to get into too many details on with those, but we have had contact with senators. We think there are senators who will be on our side, and we definitely have House members. Unfortunately, they don't get a vote on these confirmations. Yeah.
I just wonder, the issue of Americans committing crimes on Japanese soil, especially military personnel, must surely be a live issue for some, especially near the American base in Okinawa. It sounds like bringing over someone with a reputation for covering up a police murder would be the wrong diplomat to send to a country that's had that experience.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you have the problems that occur at Okinawa, at the base there, sending someone over who is known most prolifically for covering up a murder is not a good idea. Not to mention some of the earlier questions about how Rahm Emanuel's demeanor itself does not make sense as an ambassador to a country that is constantly has tensions with China, and we don't need someone there who's going to push those tensions farther. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
So if I may, can I ask?